to the Bright Minds Drunken Podcast. I'm Rebecca Nevue. This is Caleb Ezra. And this is our special guest, Nate Cozzolino,
a.k.a. Kazi Bear.
And we will be your commanding officers for the evening. And today, we're going to talk about the
cyclical changes in pop culture and how it affects society.
Thank you, Caleb.
No problem. we have to have each other's backs. Also, if you watched the last podcast, you realize that we always have a drinking game. So our drinking game this time is anytime anybody says the words pop culture, every time anyone tells Becca to shut the fuck up, and anytime, fuck it, that's it. I'm good with that. That's fine.
No, the other one was anytime we talk about a band being underappreciated,
underappreciated or underrated bands.
Yeah.
All right. So this was your topic, my friend.
It was.
So if you would like to start us off with your thoughts on what pop culture has done to society and like different eras of such.
Yeah.
I've always been deep in this bullshit inside my mind, and I like studying history and past cultures, and kind of looking at the apex of a culture. Like, to break it down, I think there's some people who would say that, music now is as good as it ever was. And, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, whatever, were good and all, but maybe the same thing will happen again next year, and you never know. And I don't really see it that way. As a historian, or I guess I'm not really a historian, as a stoned historian, I would say that when you look at past cultures, let's say Roman culture, for example, you can clearly see the apex of their creative culture and how it happened right before they became like an empire. And all the best poets came out then. All the most important writers came out then. It was kind of that boom time. And then as history progressed, it kind of goes down. And you find more and more interpretations of older work, which shows you that clearly there was a classical period, then the rest is referencing that.
Right.
I totally feel that right now in our culture, we're definitely at that latter stage. If you look at movies, it's always a remake of another thing.
Oh, no, you know what? I was actually looking something up about the remakes of stuff like that and why they do that.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily for money, but it's a lot to do with, like, nostalgic effects.
Exactly.
Because they also have this passion in order to make something like that they love better. But anyways, I digress. I'm sorry.
No, totally. And that kind of shows that people at least subconsciously recognize that there was a point where maybe art wasn't better because it was better, but certainly more, 50 years from now, shit from the 60s will be around more than crap that's out on the radio these days.
Absolutely.
For better, for worse. Some artists are just destined for prosperity and some aren't. So that's kind of interesting.
It is absolutely interesting. Look at where we are now, too.
And one thing that this topic, when I was told what the topic for today was going to be, that the first thing that came to mind for me is modern day like hip hop and rap, and how it takes women and makes them objects.
Modern day, yes.
Modern day, yeah. Like if you look, like, I mean, even back in the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's slowly becoming that, and with the ingress of a lot of internet porn and stuff like that, it's people are becoming more prizes than people.
Well, then you also have to think about the fact that if you're going to bring that specific topic up too, how the drug culture is also going into play there. They talk so much about just like doing drugs, as well as demeaning women.
But rock and roll too. I mean, I think a lot of hip hop proponents point out that like there's a double standard.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of classic rock is like just you want to bone chicks and fucking have a good time.
Drugs, and rock and roll, dude.
It wasn't exactly super enlightened as far as women's issues and stuff.
Well, I mean, it's everywhere.
I think hip hop kind of brought it a little more in your face, a little more direct, but same shit, different package.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah, modern day especially. Just but old school hip hop was nothing like that. I mean, in the 90s, the 90s, it was completely different. I actually absolutely love the shit out of old school hip hop and R&B from the 90s, even from the early 80s. Old school like fucking hip hop was amazing. Absolutely incredible. But they would talk about relevant issues.
And what I thought was always really funny is when I was first starting to write music, and I was always so self-conscious about my lyrics and like how people would take them. And when I ever had a hard time with lyrics, my sister is a musician as well, and she would always tell me, well, there are 3 main branches of lyrics: love, depression, and sex and rock and roll. Like, when you're writing lyrics, a lot of them fall into those categories.
Sex and rock and roll, the same category.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking true.
But
it's so funny about that, though, the whole music scene being like this almost romanticized fucking thing of just like, oh, you're a musician, you're probably gonna bone a shitload of times. So.
Yeah, it's you know, it's
like,
not true.
And it's funny because I'll listen to a lot of music, and it is, in fact, broken down into those categories.
Yeah.
Talking about how depressed you are, talking about how much you love somebody, or talking about having a big dick and nice cars. And honestly, it's really funny how it all breaks down to that. And ever since then, every time I listen to a song, unless it's like one of those songs that just hits me really hard, it's almost always about that. And I feel like having that in our pop culture having that in our pop culture has affected the way that people talk to each other, has affected the way that people perceive each other, or even how much they even want to interact with anybody else.
Right.
Because you have, like, the hip-hop community, obviously not all, I'm not trying to blanket statement anything, but, like, even when I run hip-hop nights at the club, what'll happen is any women who's hit on just feels almost violated by some of the things and the pickup lines that come out of these people, because they take pickup lines out of songs and they just say things and it just makes them feel super uncomfortable. I've had to kick people out for literally hitting on somebody too hard.
Really?
Oh yeah, multiple times.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, it made them feel so uncomfortable that they started crying at the bar and we had to kick the dude out.
But okay, but that's fucked up. But let's just talk about like actual...
To circle back for a second.
Yeah,
an interesting point that comes to me at moments is, for example, we talk about how empty lyrics have become. You know, like these days it's all about like blah. It's so simple and stupid. True to some extent, but then I think about like early rock and roll, where it's all the same 4 chords in different key maybe. But it's all super stupid lyrics. Like the love lyrics are sappy. They're not very complex poetically. And yet when a lot of us, me especially, hear that, it's like, oh, that's so beautiful and simple. Whereas compared to that, I do feel that modern stuff is kind of empty. And I'm not sure why I've got the double standard. Because they're both empty. But one feels like classically cool and empty, and one feels like modern and crappy empty. So
yeah, I know.
But then there are so many artists who just don't get the play that they're supposed to. Like people like Sage Francis. Like I am a huge fan of Sage Francis, and
awesome.
And if you watch this, Sage, your lyrics are...
We salute you!
Your lyrics are amazing.
I'm going to promote the shit out of you in this one.
Crack Pipes was probably one of my favorite songs to ever come out in the hip-hop rap community. One of my favorites, because it just made you feel his, sense of being lost in his life. And, like, you have a couple songs that will touch upon that, but certain people, like him, or... What is one of your suggestions for one of those kind of artists?
Message sent by him, but one of my definite people with those kind of artists is B. Dolan is also extremely good as well.
Mm-hmm. Totally the same category as far as local freaking hip hop like luminaries who really made a change.
But I mean, within that genre too, we can go into A$AP Rock, who is not from this area, but he is my almost all-time favorite underground hip-hop rap artist. He's absolutely incredible, but when it comes down to his intellect, when it comes down to his fucking words, he doesn't have these empty phrases. He has such full phrases, but they are written in an open stanza. Now that's completely different. That means that it's relevant to anybody that's listening to it, as long as you can actually listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Very different. But Sage Francis, Jesus fucking Christ.
And
It made me cry.
Seriously.
It's fucking
And
insane.
if you were going to say, just kind of a little off topic here, one of the lyrics that touched you the most, like something that was said in a song that you repeated that line in your head over and over and over again because it just impacted you that much. Do you have a line like that?
Speaking of hip hop, it's Immortal Technique.
Yep.
Oh,
In
Jesus
the song
fucking
"Caught in the
Christ.
Hustle," where he says,
Ah!
and as a local musician, this just gets me in a weird way, but I'm like the little kids on TV that dig through the trash. I hustle regardless of the way you talk shit and laugh. Was such the opposite of a braggadocious statement. It's like I'm an independent artist eschewing these big record deals because they're going to fuck my content and control what I say.
Right.
So I'm here not making the big dollars, busting my ass, getting mocked, but I don't give a fuck. This is what I'm going to do because it's how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And that was just so biting yet empowering. Just
Versus a song that's called P.O.P. that stands for Pop Out Pussy. You know what I mean? Like,
also pretty deep.
pop that pussy. You know what I'm saying?
That's a real topic too, Caleb.
I really like this lyric from this artist, Cannibal Ox, that I believe was signed to the same record label that A$AP Rock was in the beginning of his career. It's pigeons of the same feather flock together, congested under a majestic street corner. And I really like that. They were like basically saying like also like they're fighting over the same pizza crust, but you shouldn't have to do that.
Not to suck my own dick, but that kind of reminds me of Here We Are, Surrounded by the Stars of the Underground Color.
Oh my god!
Ours going to congregate where there's a common appreciation for certain values.
Yeah.
And I mean, shameless self-plug for the both of us. I mean, that's what Madcap has turned into.
Yeah.
We'll try.
I know.
I mean, if there ever was a community that looked out for each other, it's that.
And we keep on
We're a very. I mean, I do have to say though, I haven't really been conjoining as much as I used to, but I do also have to say that our friendships within that community are so strong that I don't think that could ever really break. There can always be a little bit of some kind of negativity, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
we've
it
had
never
our
breaks
comfort
us.
zones.
But it never breaks us.
Yeah.
We're always going to be
So far.
friends to the fucking end. Never. I will also just say, as in a strong community. But okay, so here's something that I think we should also talk about since we're talking about pop culture. I totally forgot.
By the way, if you're following along at home, I hope you get drunk.
Yeah,
this episode.
Yeah, please. That's kind of the purpose, but also I hope you guys watch this either way. Let's talk about our local music scene a little bit more.
Sure. One thing, since we're talking about Madcap, that is also interesting to me, speaking of the cyclical changes in, I'm not going to say the words, we just drink, and stuff, I think that in some ways, the scene of the Spot Underground, which then Madcap grew directly out of, was kind of like a neo-hippie kind of scene that, although it really came to fruit, 40, 50 years after the fact, is in some ways a real step forward in the sense that, like, if you're in the 60s, right, and you're tripping on acid and you're, like, watching, like, Cream and Jimi Hendrix play, it must have felt really easy. And, like, people thought in 10 years the world would be totally changed.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Because things were changing so rapidly that along that projection, you think that, bang, we'll be there in no time. Turns out life wasn't that fucking easy. Hippies had to grow up, get fucking jobs, and the drugs wore off, and the 70s came, and we're a total buzzkill in some ways. Our community, in some small ways, feels like we're taking some real steps along those basic lines. Like caring about each other. Yeah, that's basic common sense. Hippies couldn't do that great all the time because of all the changes that happened. And now we're operating on the same lines, but in more practical, down-to-earth ways.
Yeah.
Like, can you drive home tonight? I think you should put your keys on the fucking table.
Yeah.
You know, too fucked up? Sit down, have some water. Like, really basic self-care and community care.
The self-care and the water aspect. The water itself. Like, I feel like if you are... And I really feel like this should be given off in bars and stuff. If you take a shot, you also take a shot of water. If you take a beer, have a half a glass of water. I know it's kind of hard to take, and I know a lot of people won't want to fucking do it because maybe they feel like their bus is going to get killed. But do it anyways. Hydration is so important, and it also makes you feel a little bit drunker in the long run. If you actually do it, which not a lot of people do, but if you practice it, it's very important and it'll save a life.
It'll be so much harder not to break the seal, though, Becca.
I know.
How am I not supposed to break the seal?
I don't know. Just don't listen to fucking Theo anymore.
But we got to torch one for Tim sometimes. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Torch one for Tim.
Glass of water for Torch Alliance.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, we had a friend of all of ours within our music community pass away not too long ago, and he was a fucking god. I think you could probably elaborate a little bit more on it. But
He was certainly a pillar of the community and gave so much to the music scene. And
he's the only reason why I'm still in the music scene. A lot of it, anyway. I'm not going to give it 100% credit.
But a lot of people too.
He was a big part of Madcap coming about. Like,
I almost quit the spot when I first started out because of the way that certain things were being approached and the way I was being treated in certain aspects. But he made me feel like I was important, that everything that I did was worth doing because of how it affected everybody else, even if nobody else said that it affected them. Mm-hmm. And he made me believe in myself more than, honestly, and I needed that. A lot of people need that. Amen. And he was that for a lot of people. So many people, including Tim Batty, Sean Murphy, Soup, a lot of them would not be who they are and what they're doing if he didn't believe in them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, it's nuts. It's nuts when somebody extremely important passes away. The effect that it has on a community, and it really breaks apart a lot, dude, and it makes you think about so much, so fucking much. But we definitely should talk about more of the pop cultural changes within modern. I'm sorry, god damn it! It's the goddamn fucking topic.
Shut the fuck up, Becca.
That's triple because you both fucking said it.
I don't know if we got triples.
You can fucking try. There's also a bottle of whiskey on the floor somewhere.
Hey.
So.
There's whiskey in the jar.
I mean, what?
So here's a question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go for it.
On the theme. See if I didn't say it. If you could choose to be either a sub one-hit wonder in the 60s. An example would be someone like maybe Jackson C. Frank, who was like friends with Paul Simon, wrote Milk and Honey. Now he's being appreciated as like being super foundational, but like made no money, not really respected. But he's there in that really historical sense. Or a one-hit wonder now who makes the money but is then discarded by history.
No, history.
Absolutely not.
Huh?
Historical.
But your kids get a house, you're driving a pimp car. Like
whatever. I would rather have a fucking at least respect for my goddamn self.
If there's anything true about artistry as a whole, a lot of the best people don't get famous until they die.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying all, like a lot of great artists have become famous for legitimate reasons.
Elliott Smith.
There you go. But like,
nobody knew who the fuck he was until he died.
But like, I feel I myself am not big on riches or fame or nice cars. As long as I have enough to live and I have my garden and I have my music, I am happy. and I will continue to live even if I have to work until the day I die. That's okay with me. However, if I had that one-hit wonder and then I had to go on tour and nobody knew anything of me other than
the same
that
fucking song.
That's
murder
fucked
people.
up.
Yeah.
That's
And
so fucked
And like
up.
I don't mind performing the same song over and over again. I mean, that's part of art.
Sure.
But having yourself known for that and only known for that. See, the thing about that one-hit wonder, when he died, people looked into other things that he did because they appreciated that one hit. The one-hit wonders nowadays, what happens is because music is so easily accessible, you don't have to pay for a lot of it all the time, like Spotify, YouTube. It's everywhere. If you're a one-hit wonder, a lot of people will listen to that one song, like that one song, and then forget who wrote it or like anything of what it was about or what their life was that created that song. And so, like, let's take fucking the band Hinder. Do you guys remember Hinder?
Yes.
Lips of an Angel.
What was it?
Gross.
How does it go?
I don't
sorry.
even
I
You can't sing it?
I hated that.
Can you sing it back?
Nope.
What
Because
the fuck?
But they had that
I'm
they
trying
had
to
that
imagine it.
literally
Oh, no,
one
it was bad.
song.
It was like the early 2000s.
Lips of an angel. It's in my
That was
mind. I'm making
basically
pretty much it.
It was one of those like super generic one-hit wonder songs, and they became really famous, and they toured around the world, and I cannot name another song that they wrote.
No.
And they were fucking everywhere for 5 years. They were everywhere. They were huge.
Yeah,
they
no,
toured
they
the
were
world.
huge. They were huge. They were
And
just
nobody
this
can
fucking
name
touch.
another song by them. And if you can name another song by them without looking it up, please put it in the comments.
Do
because
it.
I want to know if there were any true Hinder fans. I want to know about it.
Like, fuck you guys! The genius that was Hinder!
We won't judge
Shut
you!
the fuck up!
Hey,
Drink.
wait! Oh!
Oh, didn't even mean to. Unintentional trigger.
It's alright. Trigger warning, trigger
You know
warning.
what like changes my perspective on this a little bit is Mona.
Yeah.
A kid. A wonder. This
Your child.
and the reason why, among other things, like the Lost Arts have a quote unquote new song out right now. And by out I mean we play it live recently. It's not yet recorded. But it's called Lost and Found. And I actually wrote the chords 20 years ago. I had this thing. This is like a little stoner story for you. There was a John Lennon Dream Contest, which I would later enter 7 years later and have a really bad experience with, but that's not the point. There was a contest. I didn't enter it, but I considered entering it, and I sat on my couch in my parents' house, high as fuck, and thought, I'm going to write a song for this contest. And then I'd been reading about channeling and stuff, so I was like, John Lennon, hit me, baby.
One more time.
And then I wrote this song with these chords that I thought were really clever. And then I played it with my band at the time, the Practical Madman. And never made any lyrics, any melodies, and it disappeared for 20 years. Then I was doing songwriters in the round at ASU20, thanks to Duane Lurgio. And I needed more original songs. So I went through my box, figuratively, of old crap. And I was like, oh yeah, this stuff. Maybe I'll put some lyrics to this.
I've done that before.
Put some lyrics to the song, made a melody. It was all right. Then I'm rehearsing at home before the show. And Mona, who's 2.5, 3 years old at the time, I get to the chorus. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, Papa, stop. I'm like, what? She's like, no. Goes, da, 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 da. And she gave me the fucking melody for the fucking chorus.
What the fuck?
It was clear as day. She said, no, don't sing that. Sing this. So now, when that song is published, if it is, her name is on the credits. She co-wrote the fucking song.
She technically did, yes.
So if I publish that, that's her posterity.
What
That's
the
maybe
fuck?
her house or her. So the one hit wonder thing takes on a different element now, where I'm like, if that song sold, I don't care if it's on like a Douche Master 2000 commercial. If Mona could be fed for the rest of her life, so it's not the only side to it, but definitely makes it a little more complicated than before I had kids, and it was just a artistic integrity thing.
Yeah, but does it matter? Because you can also put her in the copyright. You can put her in
the publishing
in
rights.
the publishing rights. Yes.
She would get a certain percentage.
Yeah. Even
We'll go over that.
We'll go over that.
That's the thing.
Because
by the
it's
way,
called Songwrites 101.
by the way, if any of you ever want any information on how to copyright an album, publishing rights, I did go to music business school for about 2 years. So a lot of that information I can give to you freely. I can't actually charge for it because I'm not an
The
official
lifestyles
lawyer.
of the rich and Ezra.
But if you ever want any ideas on how to copyright, how to go about with the publishing, what's a good deal from a record company and what's not.
I mean, like, most of it's easy until a record company slaps a fucking a whole bunch of papers in front of your goddamn
Well, I mean, it's
face.
harder. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore that much. It's almost like...
I mean, there's only 3 big record labels left anymore.
Technically, yes.
And they're all
You're
run by
absolutely
elite
right.
pedophiles, apparently.
Yep. That's
All
the
of
thing.
them.
It's a fucking, like, eyes wide shut,
Oh,
like, crazy,
that's something
evil
that
cabal of fucking, like...
We should
Child
totally
rapists.
fucking talk about right now for a little bit
Like, yes!
because that's actually fucking true. Oh, you're doing this now.
We'll just share this one back.
All right, fine, whatever.
It'd be cool if it was a joint.
Yeah, it would, but I don't have one.
We're gonna smoke weed after this, Kazi. We're gonna smoke weed on
I'm
me.
stuck in your cigarette cabal, but I'll tolerate it because
Do you want a weed kebab?
weed cabal.
I have to
They
get
come
up
in
to do
kebabs?
that.
We'll do that during the music
What?
session. When we take a break to set him up, Mr. Kazi Bear is
Okay,
actually going to
well-
play some music for us, and we'll smoke him up
Yes.
before that.
We have a little bit left though. Do you guys actually want to talk about how the music industry is basically a bunch of pedophiles?
You sound like you've got an angle on that. So let's figure that out. I mean,
Well, I mean, look at all of the people that are stepping apart or stepping onto the feet of these fucking record labels that they were signed to, saying that they were sexually abused or harassed or some other thing. Now they have like fucking court cases. Some of them won them. Some of them didn't. Some of them are looked at as whores. Now we have like a big fucking propaganda on our goddamn hands. Where the music industry, if you are a woman, especially, you are not fucking safe. And especially if you're into pop. If you are a pop genre woman, you are not fucking safe in the music industry because they
It's
will
true.
use you and abuse you and they will sexually harass you and make you think that it's fucking right.
Yeah,
But it's not.
this actually happened to my sister. She's a really talented musician, and she was playing a show one night. A guy came up to her. He's like, "Hey, here's my card from a reputable label." Who was just like, "I will record and help you produce all this music and help you publish it, get it all out there." And so she took the card. She called him up.
Oh,
She
Jesus
went out
fucking Christ.
to do the recording session, and he's like, "Hold on, one thing before we do this. I will literally do this completely free for you if you sleep with me whenever I want." So obviously she turned it down because she's, you know, a human being.
Whenever I want. It's like, not even one time.
But that happens
Like
to
a-
so,
Whenever I want.
Holy
Yeah.
fuck.
that happens to so many women. But
Yeah.
a lot of
And
dudes,
some people
like,
will
don't-
take that deal for fortune and fame and that nice car and those beautiful things.
Self-respect! Self-fucking-respect!
I mean, by all accounts, that's how Madonna became the queen of pop.
I know, but who the fuck really wants to go through that in order to become
I think she
the
thinks it was
queen of
worth it.
pop?
I'm not defending it. I think
She
was like,
does.
she's like, I had to suck a couple dicks, and then I did my own thing for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm certainly not.
There's some people that are
endorsing
there's some people that are open to that idea. There are some people that are open to
Yeah.
that idea. They will publicly talk about it, and sometimes they will. And if they publicly talk about it, that's on them. It's totally cool. But we shouldn't think about them as such because they were doing that for a career and blah blah blah. But like that just seems so horrible.
Yeah.
At
That
the
you
same
sometimes
time,
have
though,
to do that.
at the same time, people's version of self-respect goes by person. If what they did got them to a place where they can be happy with what they've become, that's their choice, and and they can consider that respectful to themselves, that they had to do that act to become a respectful person in the music industry. And a lot of the times, like, you know, I obviously don't know any famous musicians who have had to suck dick to get where they are, or I'd probably have been in a different place than I am.
I
but-
mean,
You know, like, you have those people, and their version of self-respect might be different than yours. They might consider it like, this if I want to proceed in this industry, this is what it takes. And I mean, you have like even people in the porn industry, they'll do certain things for their producers to get them into those movies that make them $10,000.
I mean,
and then they're just like, I am doing very well right now because I sucked that dick.
Have you ever seen the videos of these girls on a couch waiting for an interview? They're just like waiting for an interview, but you know it's a porn interview because it's that specific couch.
Yeah, the fucking brown leather couch.
Yes, the Brazers couch or whatever the fuck it is.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, I laughed so hard when I saw that. I was like, I watched enough porn to know what this is.
Got to do with it. What's love but a second-hand emotion? Sad but true.
I don't even know the rest of this.
I believe it's followed by "What's love got to do with it?"
That's the next part of it.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Oh. I mean, it pours better with the cap on.
Porn. Oh, you.
No, man, stop punishing his bed.
You know what? I'm just gonna pour the
right.
rest of this into this glass, and we'll just all share it because there's not much
fine.
left.
That's fine.
I thought this was like the Right Mind Sober podcast.
Oh, fuck
It's
off.
the
We're in the wrong place right now.
I literally
This is the
did
Bright
not
Minds Drunken
prepare.
Poopcast. Bright Minds Drunken Poopcast.
He
Okay,
came up
this is
with
what we
this
do.
today. He came up with this today, and I was really happy.
Because Becca loves poop.
I love poop.
Shut the fuck up, Becca. Damn it.
Fucking asshole. You fucking piece of shit.
Fucking bullshit.
Don't you tell me true things.
Let me suck your poop.
So, another angle on this shenanigan wheel that we're spinning.
Do it.
Shenanigans. What are some recent artists that you guys think kind of defy the trend I was talking about as far as music slipping more and more into what will be historical ambiguity? What are some artists that have come out since after the 90s?
Cold War kids.
They're
like
dying
Cage the
out.
Elephant.
50 years from now?
No, Cage the Elephant. I mean, Cold War Kids is dying out. I don't like their new stuff at all. They were so good when they were fucking starting, though. Their fucking first couple albums were dope.
Yeah.
And then their last album was not.
I don't know, though. Maybe it's that much with Cold War Kids, but
Wait,
Cage
hold
the
on.
Elephant, everything that they've
Cage the
ever
Elephant.
come out with is fucking art.
I'm totally with you on that.
Well,
I feel like Cage the Elephant and Arctic Monkeys
Arctic
Arctic
are like
Monkeys.
two artists that, why I like them, why I think they're some of the best artists of this century so far, is that they're not trying to do something new. It's basically classic rock.
Yep.
But it's pretty good classic rock. It's not a new formula. It's not a stylistic innovation. They're just writing good fucking songs and they fucking rock.
yeah.
And I mean, they even say in Cage the Elephant lyrics, like in 1 year, where they're just like, look, I like what I'm doing, and you can tell me I suck, and you can tell me that I'll never go anywhere, but I love what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing it no matter what the fuck you say to me.
My favorites are completely different than yours. The National, who is now, I thought was going to be huge back when I liked them, is now huge, which is a recent thing. They decided, not decided, obviously, but they were headlining.
We want to do it!
We want to do it! They started headlining these big music festivals and whatnot, but I've, watched them grow since they were a seedling. The National is, the fucking...
They were a little seedling.
They're a fucking goth band, dude. They're like
Wait, so the band was The National?
The National.
And you think they'll be remembered 50 years from now?
Oh, definitely, because they're going to be remembered now. Do you know how the Smiths are remembered? It's going to be The National.
That's a bold prediction.
I
Like,
think
like
The
I think
National.
that something like the Strokes
Oh,
will
the
be known
Strokes!
for the
You're
next
so
50
fun!
years. I mean, that song Last Night, that came out 10 years ago, and I still listen to
What
that
do you
song
guys think
all
about
the
the
fucking
Kinks?
time. I honestly don't listen to a lot of them.
I love the Kinks.
The Kinks are very underrated.
Ah!
Oh, I already have it in my hand. Cheers.
Actually, in rare form tonight. It's okay.
They're
By
one
the
of
way,
those-
if you like our drinking game, on a scale of 1 to 10, just put how drunk you are in the comments.
Comments below.
Right now.
Get to the comments, chopper.
Chopper now. Also, there's a few other bands, but I listen to very underrated bands. I'm listening.
You
to
wouldn't know
damn
them.
it, Becca.
They're pretty-
Well, it's
Becca's
true.
a super hipster.
I'm a hipster when it comes
Cheers
down
again.
to music. Yeah, because I'm technically talking it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm starting to feel like I'm not even that old, but I'm starting to feel more and more like an old man when it comes to music. Where like I like my stuff, and a lot of new stuff that comes out apart from the bands that I mentioned, like even Modest Mouse has started to drop off for me. Unfortunately, I loved
can't.
everything that came out.
I can't anymore, but I love them as people from what they seem. They seem like really fucking awesome, weird ass motherfuckers. And then again, okay, guess not. Here we go.
And I mean, like you have.
I always
your-
thought the lead singer was kind of like weird as shit, and I've always wanted to know who the fuck he was.
It's
weird.
really hard to tell what's going to become iconic because if you look back from the 60s on, for each decade, there was probably about 5 or 6 artists, 3 from rock and 2 from pop from each like decade that has become timeless. If you think about it.
I want to know who's going to become the new Neil Young. Not that I want to replace Neil Young, but if Neil Young ever dies, I'm going to have a breakdown. And I want to be able to replace myself with something. So I'm hoping that I will be.
Yeah. Quit fucking around, Becca. Be Neil Young. Damn it. But
Becca, if you're not Neil Young in the next 5 years, I am disowning
If
you.
I don't meet Neil Young in the next 5 years, I'm just disowning
that's kind of what I was
myself.
referring to earlier. That, in my opinion, and it's not a value judgment per se, but in our culture, there's not gonna be another Beatles or Neil Young or Pink Floyd or
No,
Led
there's
Zeppelin.
not.
And
There's
that's not saying that music is necessarily better before.
We have to prepare for a new culture.
And sometimes the new culture is underground.
You know what? I love underground so much. That's what it is, though. It is underground because mainstream is not that great.
Another intersection of this convo is talking about scenes.
Right.
It's fascinating to me. I like watching documentaries about hotspots like Ashbury, 65, the punk scene in London or New York in the 70s. Like these kind of flashpoints where if you were there, you felt the magic and the world hadn't noticed yet, but it was about to fucking go bang and then, of course, become lame because it went bang, as is the natural revolution of the cycle. Being self-centered and really identified with the scene that I'm in, I feel like Providence is one of those points right now.
Oh, yeah.
I felt
No,
that
most
for a
definitely.
long
And
period of time as well.
And working at the place that I work right now, and the owner of that place has a stupid amount of inside information on what's happening with every other club in the city, every other club in Boston, for no reason other than the fact that he is who he is. But right now, it's looking like Providence is going to become the new Boston because people don't like playing as much in Boston as they like playing in Providence. Lupo's is shutting down in the next year or two. The Met is shutting down in the next year or two. Aurora is shutting down in October.
I already need that one too.
I don't know how long Dusk is going to be around simply because Rick. No, I'm not saying they're going to close down because they have they have no financial reason to close down.
But you don't know if they will or not.
You don't know if they will or not.
I love
everything is possible, nothing is certain.
Exactly. And what is becoming is there's going to be a bunch of new venues opening up in the next 2 years in Providence, and they're going to have the funding. And I know the people who might open them, and I know the funding that they're going to have. There's going to be 3 or 4 new venues opening up in the next 2 years that are huge venues, like overtaking Lupo's, overtaking the Met as they are right now. So I feel like Providence is going to become the new Boston. It's going to become the new stop between New York. You usually have for tours, you have Boston, New York, and then it goes down the East Coast and then goes around.
You're saying Providence is tertiary now, but will become secondary as a market.
No, Providence is going to become the new Boston, and Boston
Well,
is going to
Boston's
become what
secondary.
Providence is now.
But you do understand also that Providence was also prospected to become the new Hollywood in a while because
Oh, yeah.
California is going to go underground.
Well, that and
I mean,
with
water.
yeah,
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
and not even just underwater. A lot of people,
We're all fish now.
a lot of people from California are actually moving out this way. And I was working with East West Studios for about 6 months as an intern over there. And I decided I could have gotten a job at East West Studios and stayed out there.
Mhm.
I decided to come to Providence, first of all, because I knew that because of the way of the world is happening with both Fukushima, what's happening to the oceans right now, everybody from that coast
It's
is
a
going
lot
to
of
have to
toxicity.
move here in the next 10 years.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of toxicity from the fucking bombings.
Yeah, and the
Still.
and
There was an explosion of a fucking nuclear waste production. Was that? Yeah.
but with that and the perspective of what's happening with the radiation in the next 10 years, the only place that is not going to be fully affected, we're still going to be affected, but the place that's not going to be fully affected is the northeast of in America. Like, you're going to have, obviously Europe isn't going to be as much affected because they're of where they are, but in America, the northeast is going to be the least affected part of the Fukushima radiation.
This actually makes me kind of scared because
It
I
should.
literally thought about this.
This will be
now.
crap that in history books they'll be like, wow, people didn't fucking.
This is why I have 3 arms.
But I mean, what can we do? Literally nothing.
No,
Nothing
it's
now.
not.
It's too late. They had a chance. They had a chance when it first happened
you can't
to do
clean
it,
that out
and
anymore.
they cannot do it anymore.
You can't clean it out. You can't do anything about it. That's why all of their fish is contaminated. All of the Pacific coast is contaminated. Everything
They're
is
actually
fucked.
even last year they started having radiation snowfall in Texas.
Yeah, I know. I heard about it. I heard about that shit.
So
That's fucked.
the reason why
I
I
was
decided to
just in
come
Texas,
here,
dude.
the reason why I decided to come here instead of getting a job at East West Studios, and honestly, if I had gotten a job there, I would probably be making 6 figures by this point in my life.
Right.
Because I was an intern there 4 years ago. They offered me a job and I turned it down. If they had offered me a job, it would have started at $50 an hour.
Right.
To work their studios.
Easy money.
All right.
Right?
Got a one-track mind.
I think we might actually be done with this section for now.
We might have to be. I think it's smoke break and Nate time. So
Yes,
we're gonna
smoke
have
break and Nate
Mr. Cozzolino
Don't forget
here.
your Aqua.
Torch
Aqua!
Drink some water right now.
Bo,
Yes,
do
children.
it down, frat boy style. What?
Drink a glass of water for our friend Tim Davis. Torch the water.
For Tim.
We're going
Torch
to
it.
go out, take a smoke break. We're gonna let Mr. Cozzolino here play us a little set, and we will be back to answer your questions.
We're gonna
in
answer
15
all of
minutes.
them.
Bright minds!
Greener than you think, for a land so sad and low. Ancient walls and silent streets, with a quiet heart I roam. Beyond the hearth and welcome fire, tavern by the sea. Volumes of lines await to tell the tale of the silent of me. I love a no stone arch, a visitor come, exchange of hearts, a favor won, lost judge of the sounds, a forgotten fixer found. Whoa, no, but right and left have been reversed. I depart, I come to see. Think it best to go back to the silence of me. I love you. Well, Papa was a sort of sailor, and he spun his sails from gold. Though he's gone, we sing together of the ocean deep oh, 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 where the north becomes the south. The symbols scream for us to see. Oh, the song that screams the tales of the island of me. Oh, Isadora, Isadora, you know you're not my first, but baby, that don't mean that I love severely permeates with your Christ cross blazing brightly. 4 to 3 to 12, you slay the television and help us help ourselves. Oh, Isadora, Isadora. Oh no, well, now I know I gotta treat you right. Oh, and now, well, although I let my friends all touch you, they touch you, ain't it true that I'm the one that takes you home at night? With your rosewood glowing softly, your pin from Mexico. Know that you won't rest till you've let everybody know. They don't know. If they don't know, then now they know. Oh yeah, I'm a rock and roll McDonald's. I'm a Burger King of sin. And these bags beneath my eyes carry the story of where I've been. Oh, now all the tacos that I ran into, all the holes that I hit, all the righteous things that I didn't do, the fucked up things I did to you, for you, because of you. outside man, outside of everything you know. Well, I'm an outside man, yeah, outside of everything you think you know. Yeah, well, I was sent from up above, but they want me, yeah, they want me down below. Oh yeah, well, my eyes are dry and tight. Yeah, they're burned by this artificial light. Oh yeah, well, my eyes are dry and tight. Yeah, they're burned by this artificial light. Oh, they begging for that sweet release of the cool and blessed night. Yeah. Yeah, well, well. Whoa, no. Hey, no. Oh, yeah, well, oh, and in my dreams I do remember my sweet long forgotten home. Ooh, well, my dreams I do remember, yeah, my sweet long forgotten home. Oh, but the way back is long and winding, path is still unknown. It's a long time. Yeah. Whoa, no. Yeah, well, the way back is long and winding, and the path is still unknown.
Bright minds!
And that was Nate Cozzolino, his live performance of beautifulness and amazingness.
Yeah, don't be afraid to self-mo here. What songs did you play? What were the names of them? Where can people find them if they want to find them?
Let's see. I think I played Island of Me.
Isadora.
I did play Isadora.
Yep.
Then I closed out with
The Outside Man.
Baby, that's what friends are for.
Welcome to the podcast.
You
All
see,
right.
we've been playing our own drinking game. Pardon.
Yeah. So we're gonna do.
We're not just fucking talk. You fucking walk the walk. And,
We walk the walk and talk the talk. So we're gonna do all of our favorite fucking portion of this whole podcast. And it's
what's that, Becca?
answering questions.
I love questions now.
And as I phrased it on the last podcast, question time.
Ooh, nice falsetto, dude. It's ready. The questions get down.
We should actually just say that from now on.
Dude, that's got to be that.
So we're gonna go from you to me.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
So here's the first question.
Oh, snap.
What's the worst clickbait you've fallen for?
Worst clickbait I've fallen for are those stupid, here's a $500 Walmart gift card.
Are you
Ooh.
fucking serious?
I've fallen for that
That's tough.
once.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the worst then, but that is the worst. yeah.
That's pretty bad. I mean, it's obvious clickbait. But I've gone through it. I've answered the survey, and I've actually gotten a $500. If you go all the way through and you do all their stupid bullshit, they
overly
do
amused by
actually
the
give it
truth,
to you.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah,
you
they-
actually get that?
Yeah, but you have to give a lot of stupid personal information, which
No!
I was too young to have known not to give. So
Oh, no.
Pros and cons.
No. All right, how about for you?
It's probably one of those like, hey, get your song heard. People will give a fuck, dude. Check it out.
All of these are
You're a
really
fucking
obvious.
awesome artist. Sit back and we'll fucking do this shit for you.
Aladdin.com.
Yeah.
I answered this on a live feed one time, and I said no clickbait has ever gotten to me unless it's about zodiac signs. And I'm just like, what zodiac sign makes me?
Ooh, you're a gullible Scorpio. What the fuck's that about?
I just want to know.
I just want to know about fucking the zodiacal future right now from
Yeah,
an unreputable source. Let's go for it.
it just seems amazing. I don't know. I
You
just
seem
wanna
amazing.
know.
In several ways.
Also, the coffee makes me poop mug.
Oh.
Thank you to my dad.
Welcome to the Drunken Minds Poopcast. Bright Minds Drunken Poopcast.
Drunken Minds Poopcast. All right.
It's
So
pretty
here's
much
the
what it
next.
is.
There's another question. Oh
here's
my
the next
gosh.
question. Who's your favorite band?
Damn, Becca.
Wait, him first. Don't get too.
No,
excited.
I'm gonna settle down for a second.
That's a really hard one because it's tied between like 4 or 5 artists.
Like all time, like favorite band, total, not even genre specific. Just
Yeah, it's kind of tied between 5 different bands. But if I had to pick one,
five's a lot.
that
Five's a lot, but I also have the same.
Like 3 is semi-respectable.
I
Five is a good
cannot.
decision.
I don't have a favorite as all.
It's
as well.
so
And there's
hard.
so many genres.
But I think at the moment, because favorite bands change, obviously, I think at the moment, my favorite band is Alt J or
Yeah.
Dirtwire. It's between those two. Either
Clause
Dirtwire
from
or
I
Alt J.
applaud
Becca's feeling it.
John.
Becca's feeling it.
Alt J. John. I applaud John.
But it depends
John
on the mood.
applauds you too.
If
Alt
I
J
am
is-
hanging out with people, it's Alt J. If I'm tripping by the fire, it's Dirtwire.
That's really fucking cool.
Joe Wire is that go-to song you play like
And
at
yeah.
Madcap sometimes.
Sometimes
you
if
know,
I don't know what to
sometimes.
play, I've overplayed Cage the Elephant or something else. I'll put on some
It's one of those
Dirtwire.
songs that it can't really be overplayed. Like,
Yeah.
That's really
I've said
cool.
to you that that's a great.
I think a lot of people
It's-
don't even know who Dirtwire is, too. It's like really cool.
Off the Beats out antique label, and they're just people who started jamming together, and they recorded their jams and then edited them, and god damn, it is good music.
It's that fucking intersection of like space out jams and like ethnicity and just fucking tripped out coolness.
Yes, it's beautiful. But what about you? What is your favorite band?
Son of a fuck.
I am
See?
very
Face of the dick, as the Neapolitans say.
Face of the
Oh, faccio guts for all my wops out there in Italy.
Caleb is also called the face of the dick, or sir.
There was an
Dick
episode
Face.
involving that recently.
It is on my
Caleb's
Facebook
penis has
page.
been involved with faces of dicks in all my Neapolitan.
Okay, can I give backstory to this so I'm not a dickhead?
No.
All right,
Dick
We're-
face.
dick face.
Face of the dick.
Basically, I got a shot taken
Dick
of me
face.
while I was on stage with Heather Raven behind the camera, and Facebook, when it did the tag your friends, outlined my crotch instead of my face.
Oh, like
It
that-
said Caleb Ezra.
That's your friend right there. That is your friend.
Apparently, my dick looks just like me.
Face of
So,
the dick.
face of the dick.
Also, Heather Raven does amazing art, and we're going to promote it within this episode.
She has become resurgent, particularly. I mean, she's always been a fixture in the Madcap art spot with her illustrations, which are unparalleled. And this recently got her camera shed back online and has been taking fabulous shots.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I've seen them. They were, like, absolutely incredible.
Not just great shots, but with the right effects, the right bounce. She's
I mean,
Like the
she's
one with
done
Jamie
really
with the
good.
lightning bolt coming
Damn.
out of his hand.
that's just
Like,
fucking on point.
What is his name? James Listowski? Am I
Yeah.
saying that right?
yeah.
Another amazing.
Why we left
fucking-
Harmony.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
he's
That was
also
a
going to
great.
be
He's got a great page.
known. If you look in the description, we're going to promote all
In the
these
comments
artists.
down below. Is that what you're saying?
By the
No,
way, Heather,
but
we
it's
are going to
gonna
tag
be
you in this. James, we're going to tag you in this. And feel
Yes.
free in the comment section to post all of your photography pages.
Lastowski.
We're about
Get it done.
promoting. We want to promote any local musicians, any local artists.
Yeah,
We're
we got
there
Tim
for that.
Batty in the last episode
Yes,
where
we
we showed
did.
his art and put his link below. So
I just bought another Tim Batty, or
That's why you
actually, it's
should.
on the
Batty, yeah.
wall.
You
It's on the
can't
wall.
see, guys, but the wall is looking on point.
Oh, I
here.
gotta do it! Wait,
Oh,
hold
damn.
up.
she's
No,
doing
I
it.
didn't do this one.
Well, while we're doing this, what is your favorite band?
My favorite band, Caleb Ezra, is to be a total hypocrite. I have to do the 3 subgenres.
Do it.
See, I did too.
Deep breath, deals with it. Overall, the Beatles. Sorry,
Okay,
that's how I grew up.
that's fine. The Beatles are the shit.
Progressive, groundbreaking, just annihilate my brain with like amazing insanity. Pink Floyd.
Okay.
And then my all-time just get down, personal insanity, inspirer, kind of conflux, Sublime. That's kind of my
I wish I
favorite
was more of a Sublime person than I am today. I mean, like,
band. Why do you wish?
I respect Sublime so much, but I can't.
It's all contextual. It's all how, when we heard bands, at what points in our life, how they affected our individual artistic career. I mean, it's not right or wrong.
I think with me, it's definitely artist-wise. Back in the day, Neil Young is my number one for fucking sure. He's the thing that I write a lot of my music around, like his stanzas and his.
And you're both Canadian, which is crazy coincidence.
So Neil Young, if you hear
Mind
this,
equals blown.
yeah. No, it's weird. We fucking almost sound kind of. He's also a Scorpio.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's a Scorpio
Double.
Canadian. And I think his birthday is around my father's. Yeah, it's cool.
He's pretty surly. I agree.
He's incredible. I think when it comes down to new music, Pinback is one of my favorites because they do double bass, 2 bass
El
guitars.
Double Basso.
And they also do like lead guitar sometimes, but Rob Crow is an absolute goddamn genius, and I absolutely love him. And The National, who is
You have mentioned that.
The National, yeah, I mentioned that earlier within this whole thing because they're a newer, like, kind of really rising, I guess, gothic, emo, just emotional indie band, and they have inspired me so goddamn much.
Becca's feeling it.
Dude, I am all about the emotional shit. Like, that is my shit.
And I'm going to throw one last one in there because they were the album that I put on the podcast for last week.
Oh, yes.
Is Iron and Wine.
Yes.
A lot of their older
And
stuff
Wine's
is
okay.
very soft and you have to be in a certain mood for it. But the Ghost on Ghost album was probably one of my favorite albums to come out. So that's why it was so hard to come up with a band that was my favorite, because there are bands in certain periods of my life that have done that. Iron and Wine was there for me 3 years ago. Fucking Dirt Wire's here for me now.
Caleb?
Yes.
I think we just got the deepest question that I think we're
This
going to
shit came
get
out
on this
like bang bang.
podcast.
It's about to get fucking like, real.
All right, Becca.
I'm
hit
glad
me
all
with it.
three of us are a part of this, but what are your thoughts on religion?
What are my thoughts on religion?
Here we go.
Sum it up for a bite size. Like,
Yeah.
for the folks out
Do
there,
not
30
get
seconds.
offended.
Religion equals what?
Do not get offended on anything that we say, but everything that we say is based on our actual feelings. This is a deep fucking subject. Please don't get offended.
All right. In order to answer this question, I have to give you a little backstory. My parents divorced when I was 3, and they divorced over religion. One of them was Wiccan, and one of them was Baptist Christian.
Oh, shit.
So I grew up in 2 very different households all at the same time. One was Baptist Christian, evangelistic, go on missionary tours, spread the word of God. One was, I believe in the powers of the earth. I believe in praising Mother Earth just for what she is and not because she is a god. So you have those 2 polar opposite sectors that I grew up in. So my thought on religion is whatever makes you sleep at night. Because I personally don't believe in any one God. I don't believe in any one power. I believe in every power that is around us at any given point.
So basically, you worship Sheryl Crow. Which is cool. That's all right. I ain't hating on it.
I'm done. You just killed me. I think you just actually killed me.
But I mean, honestly, like,
I screamed.
if it makes you feel better about death, that God exists and you're going to this perfect heaven, great. If you feel like you're just going to become sustenance for the earth when you die and that's your religion, cool. Whatever makes you sleep at night, because I do not give a shit. Honestly.
Let it be clear, no shit's given by this guy, for the record.
I've been fed so many different religions, and I've read the Quran, I've read the Torah, I've read, obviously, the Bible, because I was grown up in that, and I've been schooled in Wiccan beliefs, and they all have the same basic purpose: to keep you from being a shitty person and to make you okay with your death. Whatever makes you okay with your death and whatever makes you not be an asshole, I support it. That's my religion.
That's awesome. I actually really like that. What about you, Nate?
You sure you don't want
No, you go. You go, you're next.
religion comes from a word in Latin, which basically means to pass down.
Rules and standards.
Yeah, like here's how we do it. Which in our current day and age, especially approaching the Aquarian age, is fucking lame and square. Because, to be fair, I mean, there's both sides to it. In a certain way, things that are passed down are cool. Here's a weird example. Japanese people in toilets. Right? So traditionally, Japanese shit on squatty toilets. You squat down, you pinch a loaf, and that's how it goes. After being conquered via nuclear weapons, not necessarily, they have adapted Western culture in a lot of ways, including their toiletry. So now they sit on normal toilets, which are worse for your body. Because your stomach's a J, and squatting works better. But uncool people do the old stuff, and cool people do the new stuff, which is sitting on the modern American throats. So culture often involves adapting new cool things while throwing out old good things, which helps you survive. So in that sense, religion is, again, the same way. You look at Catholicism and the way the church has been really fucking subpar, to say the least, in their conduct. And you've got people like Martin Luther, the leader of the Protestant movement, who huck all that and make new stuff. And there's always, with religion or art or music, there's always hucking of the old and embracing of the new. And there's a weird balance in there where, ideally at least, we should be able to hold on to what's of value in the old while embracing the new. But more often than not, it's like, fuck that shit. Here's some new shit.
That was actually really beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Ah!
Shut the fuck up.
God
Anna.
damn it! Well, then we had a drink. And we all don't have anything
Well, it's
to
been a
drink
while.
anymore.
Yeah,
I got this
We haven't worked
glass
this
of the beer.
We got that thing, too.
Whoa. Off-camera action.
We gotta do that
What?
first. It's actually not that bad. It's just very sugary.
Myers being the pillar
The
of
stock
drunkenness.
is rising upon its availability.
Right. Okay.
You want to do one more? One more question?
No, I didn't even answer this
Yeah,
one.
Beck hasn't really
Oh,
weighed
yeah.
in yet.
When it comes down to religion, I think this actually might be the last one.
Okay.
Because it's taken us a little bit, it's taken us enough time. My view on religion is I was born as a Catholic. I went to CCD class, I went through the whole 9 yards, and I was a rebel throughout the whole fucking thing.
Praise job.
And the only reason why I went through it is because my parents let me eat donuts afterwards and then watch SpongeBob SquarePants.
Solid motivators right there. I mean,
I was very happy with that. But I was also, I got really good, I guess, grades in CCD class because I paid attention. I was like, this is fucking stupid. but it's not exactly stupid. Like, if you believe in that, that's great. But I believe that religion is a hope. It is a belief for knowing where you are born, why you are born, and why you die, where you go when you die.
What's the fucking point?
It gives you a purpose. It gives you a fucking purpose. And a lot of religions do. And I know, even though I was born Catholic, I went to the Wiccan religion very easily. I was agnostic. I'm still agnostic to this day. Like, I am not. I'm an agnostic now. But so I believe that there could be a God. There could definitely be a God. But I believe my God is myself in my life, which doesn't exactly. I know it sounds like really conceited almost. It sounds conceited in a way. But I'm the only one that has to fucking deal with myself every goddamn second of every fucking day. So why can't I be the God in my own goddamn life? Why can't I be the deciding factor in everything that I goddamn do? Because I am. I will decide where I go in fucking death, and I decide where I became in life. So it doesn't fucking matter.
Certainly, and an interesting point of view of Buddhism.
Buddhism is beautiful.
Is that every thought we think is a prayer. When I think, oh, I suck.
Buddhism is nirvana, correct?
Nirvana is a concept in Buddhism, yes.
Yes.
Thoughts are prayers. Or as the parlor bathroom taught me, thoughts are things. All day long I pray. Sometimes I'm praying like, good job, Nate, you're a dickhead. Fuck you. That's unfortunately too much of it, I think. I have too many behaviors. And all our thoughts are prayers. Basically, we're our own matrix. We create our reality via our thoughts. And we're trying to have more self-encouraging thoughts and less of these thoughts.
Buddhism is beautiful. Buddhism is a fucking beautiful religion. I do
Becca into Buddhism for the record.
No, it really is. It's a really fucking amazing thing. I tried to study it for a little bit. I studied Wicca for a little bit, and knowing what the actual physical elements of this world do within that religion was a really fucking amazing thing. Learning what magic was a really amazing thing. But honestly, when it comes down to religion, if it is a hope of what you see when you die, because I know death is such a fear, and what happens when you are born and your reason for goddamn life, what you believe in, it doesn't matter to anybody else but you. And I really hope you stick to that. And I really hope it's positive. And I really hope it's beautiful. But I think that's all we have for this podcast today. This is episode 2 of the Bright Minds Drunken Podcast.
What?
It's a poop cast.
We did it!
Nate
We love
All right.
We love you.
Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you watch more.
Welcome
If you have any questions for us that you'd like us to answer on the podcast, please, we'd like to put it in the poop mug.
Love the poop mug, dudes.
So,
Quality.
any questions that you have, leave in the comments below. We'll put it in the poop mug, and we'll answer it whenever we get to it, because we're just going to stick our hand in the cup and see what comes out.
Absolutely.
We love you guys.
We love you.
Bright Minds Drunken Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in.